Well, as I always start off with, what is it? Happy Monday, happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Somewhere in the world, it's that day. So, anyway, welcome to another exciting episode of the Crotchety Old Man podcast. My main man, George Crumley, and I, we're already seated and strapped in for another exciting day, man. So, top of the day to you, George.
Top of the day, Smitty. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing amazing. You know, as I always like to say, 10 toes down and I'm still around, baby.
There you go.
Yes, sir, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. You know, anytime I can get up and, as I say, see the dust on the ceiling fan, I'm doing good.
Amen to
both
that.
Both eyes are open, so I'm ready to go.
Okay, then. Well, hey, with that being said, let's jump on into it. What are we talking about today?
Well, you know, Smith, I'm sure in everybody's news, their emails is in a story, one or two about AI. So I just thought we kind of touched back. So I know we did some stuff earlier, but circle back on some of the uses of AI, you know, kind of let our audience know, if they didn't know, you know, what's going on with AI. So I was reading an article the other day that indicates that, you know, now credit score.
Oh, yeah.
You know, checking for approving your loans, approving credit cards. You may not think about that, but just to kind of refresh, you know, when you go in to put an application in for a loan or credit card, what it basically does is it tracks your credit history, your credit utilization, length of credit history. You know, this is what your credit score shows you. Types of credit you've had, recent credit inquiries, things like that. So, you know, those combined together give you a credit score, which, you know, there's three credit sources: TransUnion, I forget the other two, but anyway, so TransUnion actually is the biggest one that's used. So I guess some of these companies have wised up and say, well, you know, we can streamline this process by using AI to collect some of this data, because traditionally it's done by individuals. They have to go through and scour through your records and look at your credit report and things like that, and your payment history to determine, you know, if your credit worthiness is it sufficient enough to you know, grant you that loan, so, or car or whatever you're trying to buy. So I thought we'd kind of chew that up and talk about that a little bit today.
Hey, man, that's an excellent topic. You know, and to your point, we have broached or talked about AI in the past in certain aspects. There still seems to be this, I'll call it fear, for lack of a better word, out there in the general public, especially in some sectors, whereas that this AI tool is being used in every aspect of life. So I'm not surprised that because of the functionality of it and real time utilization of AI, that it has not permeated over to the credit world, certainly in financing and funding of whether, like you said, whether you're buying a home, a car, or buying a business. The traditional models of AI that typically used to rely upon backward looking data, you know, your FICO scores and stuff like that. What I've in my research on the topic and found out is that AI now enables real-time underwriting. And so it makes it very difficult too for a person to, you know, used to have these credit repair companies and all these steps of doing credit repair. And it was all pretty much like snail mail to begin with. And it took months and days and stuff like that, you know, 90 days, 6 months or whatever to correct your credit score. Or now, because it's so digitized and moving forward in this world, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to find most data is going to be digitized, digital assets and things of that nature. And so what I found is that AI enables that real-time underwriting, using cash flow, your spending behaviors, transaction data. I mean, it's like that. You know, you make a transaction now, and typically we're using our you know, we're tapping our phone. You know, you don't even write checks anymore, right? For the most part. I mean, there's probably still a few people still doing it, but those are things about to go away because of the digitalization of real assets. And so with this credit profiling thing, the results become, well, your credit worthiness becomes very fluent. It's continuously updated in real time, and it's no longer a fixed number. And so it's to the point where you must guard your credit like you guard your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure, you in saying all that, what comes to most people is the why. Why are we moving in a direction? And one is reducing human error.
Yeah.
Algorithms are basically prone to no, I'm take that back. Humans are prone to mistakes, but algorithms are not, because they are more digitized, like you say, and they can take the information and go through it quickly. Enhance accuracy. They can provide more accurate information. And then, like you say, speed of getting this information and getting it back to you. So that's important, because we're all in this world now where we want it instantly. So this, when they use AI, it helps. So you want to be aware of what's going on, and when using that. And one of the things that AI also looks at is your social media.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the things that I always try to bring that out to folks. Even if you're applying for a job, you got to be careful. You may want to turn off your social media while you're going through those processes, or you be careful with because people put anything on social media. But AI will scour that and grab information also. So there's good points and there's bad points. But the most important thing is to be aware of what's going on.
George, to your point, I think one of the most salient things that AI brings to us is the transparency. We're going to a real world assets of digitalization and tokenization, whether you like it or not, whether you're ready or not. I'm just put that as a sidebar conversation that better get ready, because tokenization, digital assets is here already. And that transparency, what it brings is that, all right, when we look at AI as it relates to credit worthiness and loan application things, the data that's used now is your rent payments. There's a lot of people, that pay rent. It's no longer for the landlord. I mean, if you're a landlord and you're still going by collecting cash or accepting checks, your business is about to die, okay? Because that dog is not going to hunt in moving forward. And in the future is like in seconds, okay? Subscriptions, your utility payments, your bank activity. It's going to be very, very difficult to dispute a transaction anymore, because you can't deny that you were at the Apple store on Friday, March 17th, or whatever day it is at this specific time, because all that stuff is digitized. And so if AI now has enabled Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion to speed up now what used to take months into seconds, so disputes and all that kind of noise is almost is non-existent anymore. And then so on top of that, the strategic implication of it all is that lenders now can unlock new customer segments. They can find out those so-called credit invisible borrowers, what I'm saying, knock out a lot of fraud. And then also they can do that without increasing their default risk. So what happens that as consumers, and the good part about it is, I mean, none of the things that we just said so far is negative, because if you're a wise spender, if you're a wise investor and stuff, then you want to make certain that, number one, you cut out the middleman, because in credit, the middle person are those debt buyers, the people that's buying debt, buying poor credit and stuff like that, those debt collectors, that's what I'm talking about. And so they make their money on making transactions. You owe $1,000, they make a deal with the credit bureaus or the original merchant, I'm sorry, but they buy that debt, maybe say 20 cents on the dollar. So you may owe $1,000, but they buy it for $200. And now they're reporting to your credit bureau and trying to sell it back to you for $400. Hey, if you sell it for $400, we'll give you a break. And you think you're getting a break. And so you take that opportunity, put that in quotation marks, you paid the $400, but that collection agency is still reported on your credit report as a bad debt. So when you talk about AI AI now, because of the credit bureaus can now circumvent that and say, well, no, you got this. It's transparent. They can see what the middleman has done in terms of they sold the debt and now they just sold it back. They can correct some things on your credit report. So there's some good things, and of course, if you're nefarious, there's some bad things that it can do for you too. So, or
Absolutely. Yeah, also, there's always challenges and considerations when using tools like this. I mean, one is fairness. As we've known through the years, when humans are doing this credit reporting and whatnot, we was always concerned about bias and things like that. But when you're using AI, it eliminates that bias, so that's a positive. Cost effectiveness. Obviously, if a business is using this, they can save money and have those individuals doing other tasks, that are more important, that can use the other skills. Improve the customer's experience. We kind of talked about that already. It makes it a little bit faster for them to get to the data and respond back to any of the questions. Some of the concerns, data privacy.
yeah,
As we put information out there, then algorithms are built. This information, once it's out there, you hear people say the cloud. Yeah, the cloud is out there. And once you put this information in the cloud, it will be there. So yeah, that is maybe one of the downsides to using AI. You have to be aware of that information, once it's out there, it's out there.
yeah.
Algorithm bias, not human bias, but algorithm bias, because it builds a profile. It's funny because I use a couple of the tools, and now when I go in them, they will identify me as the crotchety old man. So they'll say, do you want this to read as the crotchety old man? So it's built a algorithm that anytime I use it, until I erase that particular that chat usage, it's going to always refer to me as the crotchety old man. So now it thinks it knows me and can write things in my language or how I speak as the crotchety old man, which I think is very interesting. But the point is the fact that when AI is looking at your credit, it's going to build a profile based on the algorithms, and it could do that. And if the company is using it, could do that based across a wide range, meaning different customers, different profiles, different traits, different algorithms. So it could be some bias in the AI. I mean, that's something down the road. And then transparency, understanding that AI makes a decision, and you got to make sure how you understand how that decision is being made. So, like you said, there's some pluses and minuses to using AI for this. But so as we get through these processes, it's somewhat new, but we got to make sure, as us as individuals have to make sure we're asking the right questions.
Oh, no doubt about it. Because it creates a tension, if you will, and it shifts the edge over to the merchants and the credit bureaus, because now it becomes a thing of accuracy versus compliance. All right. You have those laws that were in place. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is one of them. And the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act simply states that, as I explained earlier, that a creditor cannot, and it's against the law for them to be contacting you or bugging you and calling you in ungodly hours of the day on this auto dial thing about some debt that you allegedly owe. Well, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is supposed to protect the consumer, okay, so that you're able to fight back. With AI now, it makes it more difficult for you to fight back. And so with these automated dialers and all this sort of stuff, you can curse them out, you can hang up, you can write letters and stuff, tell me don't call me no more and all that nonsense. That doesn't work anymore because you're no longer dealing with a human being. Like you said earlier, this automated system that the world, and what is really is in the minutia of it all is global connectivity. So with everything being, almost like on a blockchain, we're going to have to get one of our guests back on here that talked about, as far as the crypto and stuff, but this blockchain thing and digitalization and tokenization of our ecosystem has grown exponentially. And it goes far, 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 far more than just the crypto and stuff. We're talking about now stable, I won't get into stable coins, but this payment and transfer of wealth, if you will, and transactions. Just like when you look at a loan application, Used to be you put in a loan application, those who had marginal credit, they go home and they got their fingers and toes crossed and waiting 2 or 3 days to see if they got approved. Not anymore. Today, you apply for a loan application, you'll know in seconds whether or not you got approved or not. So what it does, it speeds up transactions immensely.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of the things that allows AI to grow in this faction is acceptance on our part, because of the fact that we don't challenge certain things, because like it's a positive. If I get on the phone with an agent and they take my information, like you say, within the span of that phone call, they can actually approve me, then I'm happy. They've used AI and I'm happy. But on the flip side of that, if something else happens and I'm not approved, then you're in a different situation. Then you have to challenge that, not just accept that. And that goes along with everything else that AI is using. When you dial something and they say, well, I'm your AI agent, what do you need today? If you don't pound out of that, you're going to talk through that. They're going to build a profile on you and they're going to try to answer your question. So it's acceptance on our part. As long as we're not fighting it, they're going to continue to use AI. So it's like you say, it's a good or bad thing, but it's up to you to decide if you're going to accept, what AI is putting out.
Right. And in everything, I guess there's winners and losers. I believe in, of course, obviously in this scenario, the winners are the lenders and the platforms that they control and the data and the distribution of that, and how the decisions that are made are based on automated, digitized data. It's not made primarily on a human, and I think that could be one of the discourse of the AI in the financial realm, because, and I'm going to use this as, African Americans, and people, black and brown people, period, let's put it that way, are often discriminated against when it comes to loan applications. And I'm talking about housing specifically now, in terms of being qualified to buy a home or what have you. And now, the DTI, debt to income ratio, has always been around. There's always been a mathematical metric to determine that how much home you're buying, are you able enough to afford the monthly payment? All right. And that's based primarily on gross revenue, gross income, or wages, what have you. Now with AI, all those things are sped up. Your spending habits are already being stored somewhere, because like you said about the algorithms, they know where you're spending, how you're spending. Of course, consequently, we see that in everyday life on our computers or on our phones. If you go look up a pair of Ferragamos, or if you go look up whatever, that you could just be perusing, looking at a vacation home or Airbnb. Well, what are you going to see? Before you even go to your next screen, you're going to see millions almost of advertisements about that particular object, right? Or thing. So now if you go out and buy that, that's going to show a spending habit of that, as far as you're buying more luxury items or things you can't afford or whatever that case may be. That case is being built, and it can be either used in your benefit or be used against you. The other side of that is that because of the digitization or the tokenization of real assets, real world assets, well, you could be also buying shares of stock. You could also be buying gold or buying, rare minerals or what have you. And that also shows a pattern. So like you said, although AI as it relates to financing is not as, I don't know the word I want to use, but it's a little different than just posting something on social media. All right. This is something that doesn't go away. All right. And so you have to be more mindful about it. And my concern, if I call it that, is that does AI, and it possibly does, differentiates, since it's more digitized than it is humanized, race? Does that, and I'm probably answering my own question, because your zip code typically identifies where you live at, and where you live at, and that zip code also indicates the type of, what's the population in that particular area and that geography and things like that. So this thing has a deeper impact than what we're talking about here today, just on the surface. We're pretty much touching surface stuff. But if you really want to get into the weeds of this thing, do your research. Instead of scrolling, start learning more about what's going on in this world, and particularly how it impacts you.
Oh, absolutely. And before we get out of here, I just want to mention a couple of things what you said, but hopefully with the, like you said, the housing and the bias and things like that, using AI will eliminate that, and it will become more fair as far as whatever race you are and trying to, buy or purchase or get a loan or anything like that. And that was one of the things that they were saying, that using AI will eliminate the biases of humans, as we've seen, in the past. But and also, I mean, we have to keep in mind that AI doesn't have a soul.
That's right.
One of the terms that's used in AI is hallucinations. AI can't have hallucinations.
Right.
These are human elements, and the human elements that we know and that in our soul, we will keep those. So you have to understand that, AI, there's certain things it can't do. It can't express itself, so keep those things in mind. And like I said, you have to keep challenging the things, you want to ask your money manager, are you using AI to make the decisions of how you're going to invest my money? These are things you need to know, because if they are, maybe that's not the way you want to go, because because here again, certain algorithms based on, that they've built for you, on you, may not necessarily be the way you want to go. So it's like, putting stuff in, and that's what you're going to get out, because like the example I used earlier, it thinks I'm the crotchety old man when I go in. And as long as I keep that profile, that's where it's going to be, which for me is cool. It doesn't know who George Crumley is in actuality. So I can continue to put this data in there and basically create a fictitious person, so it's interesting, but you have to use these tools to your benefit. Don't think you're defenseless against this information. You have to use it to your benefit and be aware of what's going on. It's out there. They're using it. You just have to basically explore and figure out how it's going to best benefit you.
And you said it best right there. Be aware. Awareness is the key. Awareness, and certainly we will never get away from knowledge and education, but awareness is the key. And before we sign off, we don't want to sound dismal for the end user, because there are some things that a consumer can do to improve their credit worthiness. I think we kind of touched on a lot of it earlier, but just as a rehash, you can improve your credit worthiness through your behavior. All right. Your cash flow management, as we talked about, your spending patterns. All right. These are ways to improve your credit worthiness. Credit becomes more tied to your real financial health versus the historical debt that they used to use before. All right. I think credit scoring was primarily based on past events. All right. Whereas now it's more based upon real-time events. And so that gives the control somewhat back to you as a consumer, because you can control those things, right? So there's opportunities out here. I mean, these fintech tools and all that kind of stuff. It moves things faster. But I read it was a quote, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself. It said the fastest way to success is to move slowly. And as I meditated on that, I could see the importance of that, and that's true. I mean, the world is moving fast, but we have to slow down enough so that we can comprehend what's really happening, look between the lines, read and listen to what's not being said, and utilize and be that mirror where that you can use that force or that technology, if you will, and not let it be used against you, but apply it, as you said, George, apply it and use it as a tool yourself to improve your financial health. We talked about, of course, our physical health with these type of things and stuff, algorithms or what have you. It doesn't have to be a negative, okay? And I believe moving forward, it will be a positive impact on humanity, because, like you said, AI doesn't have a soul. We do. AI doesn't think for us. It just enables us to make better decisions. And so, and using it for those purposes and those purposes only, I think we'll be all right.
Oh yeah, and just a real-time example. I mean, you can basically put your Bill's indebtedness in AI and say, bill me a 6-month plan on how to get out of debt. And it will kick that right back to you. And then, you know, you can go to the loan office or where you want to go and know you'll be approved already. So you got to use these tools to your benefit. That's all. Just use them to your benefit. That's it, you know?
Yeah. And just like that, you can also build your personal financial statement.
Yeah.
Okay. Or your personal balance sheet. What better, you know, it's better when you can walk in to a loan office or a lender or talking to a lender and you can show them your net worth. Okay. You don't have to scratch your head and try to figure it out. It can tell you. So, and it works best when, you know, you do it and you adhere to it. Because having advice and not following it is like having a map and not reading it. So
that could be our word for the day, huh?
Hey, well, I don't have to look for one.
Good stuff, Smitty. Good stuff as usual. Hopefully our audience will use this, you know, to their benefit. And here again, it will bring awareness to what's really going on out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, another exciting day here in the lives of Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hopefully we blessed you with some inspiration, some education. And as George always say, if you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know. Take care.
All right. Peace.
Bless.